Today is Saturday, May 10th. So the first full trading week of May is underway, and I'll share one trade that I took this last week. This was dollar CAD. So I was looking for a chance to buy strength in the dollar this week. It looked to be quite oversold against a couple of different currencies after April. So looking at the weekly chart, dollar CAD broke out of the 1.39 level. This was back in October of last year, and then it made a high at the beginning of this year. It went almost all the way up to 1.5, but it got sold down aggressively starting in January. And then a lot of the trade tariff news came into view around early April, which contributed to further dollar weakness against pretty much all currencies. So I was looking at this chart as a return to the breakout level. And in terms of Ichimoku, I was also looking for a bounce on the long-term Kumo line here. There's several bounces that are playing. So one is against the breakout level, another against the Kumo, and then the third would be against this rising trendline support here. That's connecting all the supports since May of 2021. So given that the last 3 weeks, this price action has kind of paused around here at the 1.38 level, I thought it would be likely there would be some kind of a bounce that can play out here. So as it happened, I was waiting for this week. The exact technical confirmation I was looking for was some kind of a breakout against this descending trendline resistance drawn on the 4-hour chart. So combined with the rising long-term trendline support, this provides a very tight wedge pattern here. So I thought if it broke out of this, then we would have a pretty clear signal that dollar could be recovering. So which day did this happen exactly? It happened on the last hours of the Wednesday trading session. This was Wednesday in Pacific time, but it was already Thursday in the Asian session. So we got a strong buying on Wednesday New York session, went all the way up to 1.38. It fell off a little bit in the first half of the Asian session, and then towards the second half, it started going up again. So I got the alert sometime just before the London session open. Let me show the 5-minute chart. Okay, so I got the alert sometime here, but I didn't come back and check the charts right away until a little bit later. So even on the 5-minute chart, this move went very quickly, and by the time I bought, it already flattened out a little bit. But that's okay. I was looking at my trade in terms of the daily and weekly time frame, so I was prepared to hold this for at least 1 or 2 days to see what would happen. So in the London session, we sold off a little bit to consolidate, but then in the New York session on the next day, on Thursday, this continued to break out. All right, so yeah, Friday, not much, but it was just consolidating, holding its highs. I think toward as a closing day, this is confirmation of the bullish direction. So next week, I would guess this price would continue up as the dollar rallies. So what happened on Wednesday was the Fed decision news. That was the news that this price action happened around. So the US Fed, it didn't surprise anybody, but they held interest rates steady and didn't give any meaningful insights into when it would consider cutting rates. Again, the comments thus far is that the Fed will continue to monitor in a holding pattern until further action is necessary. But regardless, the market acted favorably towards the dollar, giving it strength. So this does give us a little bit of confirmation that the sell-off was overdone in the dollar markets. So let me look at the dollar index. This is a weighted index. It's bouncing a little bit here at the parity 100 level. So it still has to clear this descending Tenkan-sen before we can consider it a recovery here. But it doesn't look like it will sell off just yet. If it does sell off, it would have to be another very aggressive move to go down. Dollar yen, I was considering this as another opportunity to take a position in the dollar. All right, so how did this happen in USD JPY? We see the same move. You could say it tested the descending trend line made since May 1st. It broke out and then broke out again on the same Wednesday that happened. And then it sold off a bit, but it looks like it's forming some kind of a support to try another test against 145. So the reason I chose to take the trade in dollar CAD rather than dollar yen was because the technical consolidation just looked a little bit tighter on dollar CAD. Dollar yen, even though is a bit more volatile than dollar CAD, it can make big moves, but it can retrace a bit more too. So if we look at Friday's price action, dollar CAD mostly consolidated sideways, but dollar yen actually came down fairly significantly. But that doesn't mean it will sell off. It just means that all moves in either direction can be a little bit more volatile. So if I took a trade in dollar yen, I would have had to put my stop loss somewhere well below, either at 141.25 or 139.6. But yeah, assuming that next week the dollar continues to show strength, I think it will break out of these two high levels here and go towards higher levels, possibly somewhere between 147 and 151. Yeah, that would be the Kumo area in the daily chart. So a couple other markets we can check in the dollar Swiss franc. This one also looks to be showing some kind of a consolidation and break pattern. But yeah, being that Swiss franc is a much stronger currency, I would prefer to buy the dollar against a weaker currency. And it's a little bit hard. Dollar Swiss franc, it's trading in this expanding range. So in terms of the weekly chart, the highs are kind of staying flat, but the lows are getting lower. So point to consider if you consider taking a trade in dollar Swiss franc. All right, AUD USD. Australian dollar is one of those other counter trend moves that have been happening in the last month. So after the tariff news, Aussie dollar sold off a lot as well. And right now it's recovering with the US dollar. So that's why I didn't take a trade in AUD USD to express strength in the dollar. It's just one of those trends that's moving in the same way as the dollar. So I want a currency that's moving in the opposite direction, or at least staying flat. So CAD and dollar yen, those would be my two top picks for trading the dollar in the next few weeks. All right, yeah, let's take a look at gold. This is another market that was moving in the last month quite a bit. So yeah, gold, it's coming back down a little bit. So looking at the previous week here, we made a bottom at 3,200, and then a lot of buying action came in. But I wasn't trading this because mostly it was a trend on the 1 hour time frame. So by the time I started paying more attention to that trend, it was already around the 33.80 level. So being that it's not trending on the daily time frame or even the 4-hour time frame, I don't really want to buy around these areas. You see the price action slowing down. There's a very high chance that sellers could come in and try to take some profits, especially the ones who are buying this bottom here. So yeah, gold has made a nice move earlier this year, but it may spend some more time in a horizontal consolidation before picking another direction. So daily is flat. All the Ichimoku lines are flat. 4-hour the trend is flat. It's actually within the Kumo range here. So unless you are trading the lower time frames, I wouldn't recommend trying to chase a trend in gold. It could change if it breaks out of 3,400. That could be a setup to go higher, but that hasn't happened yet. All right, same thing in silver. Much of the correction around early April has recovered, and now it's also trading sideways, similar to gold. Copper is similar, but much less predictable. Bitcoin is interesting. Bitcoin is showing a lot of strength these last couple of weeks here. So it bounced on this rising trend line, and it is back to testing the breakout highs again. So this is one of the markets I see that has recovered to the momentum prior to the April tariff announcement news. So, but this could still be a horizontal range based on the weekly or monthly charts. It may take a little bit of time more to consolidate before breaking out here. But if you are looking for a breakout, it's nice to see these large candles on the weekly chart. One thing to note, the Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen trend lines are, or Ichimoku lines, are not in the correct order. So even though both are angled upwards, the short-term median is below the midterm median. So that's not the technically correct order to identify trend in Ichimoku. All right, what else is interesting? Oil has recovered this week. So oil is showing strength along with the dollar. So we tested the lows at $55 twice now in the last 2 months, and it's making a modest recovery. So that doesn't mean in the long term oil has picked a direction. It's still relatively weak on the monthly time frame, but yeah, it could consolidate sideways here a little bit. All right, so yeah, some of the currencies like the euro and the pound that were trending after the tariff news broke in April, those are now consolidating or recovering backwards. So we see a lot of the trends in April starting to reverse. Okay, so those are the main currencies that I see. I'm going to continue looking for strength in the dollar in the next week. Probably in USCAD if it breaks out again. So on Friday it recovered very nicely, almost at the cusp of breakout. So depending on how the market opens next week, I may decide to put on another position and trail my stop loss. That's what I'll mention. So my original stop loss, it was at 1374.24. That was when I entered this trade. So I took 2% of risk down to this level. And then after it started moving a little bit, I put one of my stop losses at 1.38048. That was the breakout level low just before this trendline breakout. I didn't want to move it just yet because I don't see a clear breakout on this next leg up. But if it does break out, that would complete one leg one main leg and then form another leg that's ready to go. So I would probably put my stop loss at 1.389, somewhere around here. But yeah, I'm just looking at the magnitude of this breakout, and it could be that it gets supported by this Tenkan-sen on the 4-hour chart. In that case, it would keep going, and that would be a very sharp wave called an I wave on the 4-hour chart. But it could also consolidate for a period longer before it continues. So I had an initial price target level of 1.4. That's kind of a soft price target level here, just mentally. But yeah, anywhere between here and 1.41, that would be the lows of the previous breakdown level. So it could pause there for a moment, and that would be in line just before the daily Kumo level here, where it might run into some resistance before picking a new direction. All right, so overall I'm in profits about 0.5 to 1. So I took a total of 5K of risk. So I'm up a little bit more than half of that. All right, I'll continue to update this trade next week as it unfolds.